All right, you guys, it finally happened. Welcome in. We got One Piece, chapter 1117 brief spoilers. We're just going to be talking about the Gorosei today because I think they looked pretty damn good. So, turns out in this chapter, we got potentially four of the Gorosei members versus the ancient robot. And the reason there's four of them and not five is because Venus decides to go against Zoro. Why does he do this? Because he senses Kitetsu on Zoro's side. So they clash a little bit. We got Conqueror's Haki going crazy. No sky-splitting event according to the leakers, but hey, Conqueror's Haki Zoro versus Conqueror's Haki Nasujiro, especially since this does confirm that Venus, just like some of the other Gorosei members, has Conqueror's Haki, right? We saw, I think it was Saturn display Conqueror's Haki, Mars has done it, Warkady's done it. The only person we're missing so far when it comes to the Conqueror's Haki showing is simply Jupiter, but I think he definitely has it, right? The guy was labeled #1 when he was summoned here onto Egghead Island. I would be baffled if Jupiter doesn't have it. I mean, he has the hardest design out of all the Gorosei. He's a giant worm with teeth. It doesn't get cooler than that. So yeah, you know, if 4 out of the 5 Gorosei members has Conqueror's Haki, Jupiter, let's just give it to him without even seeing it, right? But yeah, Zoro versus Venus is apparently a thing. Will they actually fight to the very end? I don't know. I really don't, because at first I didn't think the Gorosei would want to run the gauntlet against the Straw Hats because they have the message, the pacifista. They had a lot going on here on Egghead. But Venus, despite all of that, decides to go after Zoro. The message is still going on by this point of the chapter, but Venus says, no, I gotta drop everything and go after this guy specifically. And what's interesting about this is that last we saw Venus, you know, he just cut the Labo phase in half. He just cut the Cloud in half, the Seraphim, the Fall, and all that good stuff. Zoro was still on the Labo phase. So it makes me wonder if Zoro simply went downstairs to fight Venus, or if Venus went up to the Labo phase to fight Zoro. Or perhaps, maybe, the Thousand Sunny has now landed onto the Fabrio phase. There's 3 different ways this is going to go down, but I am curious to see where this battle takes place because it does mean that the characters have moved around since we last saw them. But yeah, as far as Zoro versus Venus goes, man, hey, you know, if Luffy can take on multiple Gorosei at a time, I truly do believe that Zoro could. Yeah, I mean, well, not like multiple, but I think Zoro could take on Venus. You know, is it too soon? Maybe. But I do think that by clashing with these monsters, it will help our boys grow, right? Luffy's clashed, Zoro's clashed, Sanji kind of like kicked Nasujiro's blade. I don't know if you want to consider that a clash, but, you know, I think there is a lot of benefit that we can take out of these little matchups. The only character so far that hasn't fought a Gorosei member yet, I believe, is just Jinbei, right? I think, oh yeah, we had the weak trio, Robin, Brook, Frankie was down here with Saturn, Sanji was down here with Saturn, then he went to Venus, Frankie saw Venus too. Yeah, the only Straw Hat that hasn't fought a Gorosei yet is Jinbei. So it makes me wonder if Oda is going to bring Jinbei into the fold at some point. Maybe Jinbei comes in and grabs Zoro again. Maybe that's it. Because like I said, I don't think we're going to beat these guys here. And I still don't think that Venus is going to chase Zoro while everything is going on. Like I said, he did take a detour here, but I'm not too sure how that's going to play out in the grand scheme of things. I wouldn't be surprised if Jinbei's like, hey, Zoro, brother, we can't get lost again. The ship is right there, my man. You know what I mean? So I think that could come into play. And maybe if that happens, Jinbei could get his moment against a Gorosei member. But as far as the other 4 Gorosei guys go, they all seemingly go against the ancient robot. And yo, you know, very rarely do I... Okay, that's a lie. I root for the bad guys pretty often. But let me tell you, man, you put the Gorosei on one boat, you put the robot in another. I'm Team Gorosei, right? I'm a design guy. And let me tell you, I didn't like the robot since the day we met him. So the fact that the Gorosei are able to take down the robot in this chapter, which, okay, I want to reel it back a little bit. They don't take down the robot, but they attack the robot and the message stops. So at the bare minimum, they have destroyed the Den Mushi that the robot was protecting. So the robot, you know, kind of failed his mission. He failed 900 years ago. He failed 200 years ago. This robot is a complete failure. 3 L's back to back to back. He cannot catch a break. And yeah, man, I'm excited to see how the Gorosei do it. It sounds like they might be doing a combination attack, which I think is kind of fitting in a weird way, right? For some reason, whenever we have these big monsters or these groups gathered together, they always have some sort of combo attack, right? We got Kaido and Big Mom. We had even the Straw Hats back at Sabaody where they did a combination attack against Kuma, against Oars. I just want to see what they do here. I want to see how their teamwork plays out, and I'm really curious to see how the robot is going to handle or tank this attack, right? Is he completely broken, or is he going to brush it off come next chapter? Because, you know, I'm not saying I was expecting a lot out of the robot, but I was expecting him to maybe drop us some lore. But then again, every time we meet somebody from the Void Century, we never get that, right? Zunisha would be a prime example of this. Back in Zou, I was like, yo, Zunisha, we can talk to them. We have the voice of all things. Zunisha was there. You know, they know Joy Boy. A lot of things are going to go down, right? Luffy's going to talk to this elephant. It's going to be great. Didn't happen. Oh, Zunisha's coming to Wano? Zunisha knows that Luffy is Joy Boy? Oh my god, you know, like a lot of things are gonna go down here. Didn't happen. So maybe this robot is the exact same way, you know? They have all this information, but we're just never gonna get a chance to actually talk to them. And yeah, I want to see what dialogue comes out of this, like I've said before, like the Gorosei. I bet the Gorosei have some really nice insider information as to what role the robot played in the past, or maybe even just 200 years ago, because some things went down back then, right? They're like, oh, you know, 200 years ago, this robot woke up, attacked Marie Dra, and then after that happened, the Fishman got rights. It's like, oh, okay, how does X plus Y equal that? You know what I mean? Like, it seems really odd. Like, the Fishman played some role in it. Maybe there was like another Joy Boy of the past, or the heartbeat came back, and that's why the robot woke up. We don't really know what's going on with them. So yeah, there's a lot of weird things with this robot, and I don't think its story is done here. I don't think he's defeated, but we'll see. You know, like, the Gorosei stopped the broadcast at the bare minimum. They killed the snail within the robot, which I think is massive. You know, finally the Gorosei getting some sort of W, or permanent W, not like a superficial, oh, like they look good here, they look good there. No, they won this time. They stopped the message. Vegapunk was about to reveal some juicy information, but he didn't. By the looks of it, you know, Vegapunk was about to talk about the Will of D. We did not get the Ancient Kingdom name as well, so, you know, there was still a lot more to this message that we didn't get to see. It wasn't one of those things where he was about to finish the message and then we just missed the last 1%. No. It looked like Vegapunk still had a good ways to go, and the Gorosei stopped it in its tracks, which, you know, good for them. You know, at some point, these guys have to look good, and I'm glad. Oh yeah, one thing I kind of forgot to expand upon with Zoro versus Venus, though, you know, back to that fight. Venus does talk about Kitetsu, which does lead a lot of credence onto the theory that, I hope I'm using the right words and pronunciations here, but it does lead more credibility to the theory that Venus has the first Kitetsu, which is a theory that is almost as old as time itself. You know, ever since we learned that Zoro had the Sandai Kitetsu, Kitetsu 3, and we saw Venus with his little Kitetsu blade, and it had almost the same markings as Kitetsu the 3rd, it's like, okay, you know, like, 3, Zoro got 2, where's the first one? Maybe we give it to Venus, because even looking at it from a different standpoint, right? Just looking at Zoro's future opponents, there's not too many people left. There might be a Holy Knight one, which, you know, we still haven't seen them in action yet. There might be a Holy Knight one. We have Shiryu of the Rain, and then we have Mihawk, and it's like, okay, you know, one of these guys, I mean, oh yeah, and Venus as well. One of these guys has to have Kitetsu the First, and what better character than Venus, a guy who potentially hails from Wano based on his name. You know, Nasujuro, Zorojuro, like, there's something cooking here. It's pretty obvious that, you know, he's gonna have some tie-ins, and I'm just curious to see what it's like. I think it'd be really cool if maybe Venus was another, you know, offspring of Ryuma. I think that'd be awesome. I don't know how it would work, considering that he's a Gorosei member in Celestial Dragon, but hey, we have seen that families have been split pretty hard down the middle sometimes, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there was a certain faction of Wano, or the Shimotsuki, that did go on and become Celestial Dragons, and then we had some Shimotsuki who said, no, we don't want that, we're gonna stay where we belong in Wano. Kind of like how the Nefertari family turned down a position with the world government. Maybe something like that was cooking in the past. We don't know. But yeah, with that being said, though, that is the Gorosei segments. I thought this chapter so far has looked pretty solid. I've seen people saying it's pretty mid-chapter, but honestly, things are happening. The robot got taken down. You know, the robot that I've hated for a long time now is finally gone. You know, people are saying that this robot has reminded them of their childhood, because it's like the Iron Giant, that old Pixar. Is it Pixar? It's like an old childhood movie for a lot of people. And let me tell you, I hated that Iron Giant. I hated the way he looked. I hated the kids he hanged around. I hate that he lived in a scrapyard. I hate the way he flew. So seeing the Gorosei take him down really tickled my fancy. Oh yeah, one more thing I do want to bring up here. Sorry, I try to stick within the borders of one topic whenever we do these videos, but there was one thing here this week that we gotta bring up, and that's Smoker. After 5, maybe even 6 years at this point, Smoker has finally come back into the story. And yes, we did see him for a second in the Kuma flashback, but that was a flashback. We got one panel of Smoker, doesn't count. This week, man, we get Smoker. I don't know if we actually see him or not. It says Tashigi is talking with Smoker, and he is going to the hospital. Who did he fight, dude? Who did Smoker fight? Hey, if you guys know me, if you've seen my other video, I think that Smoker maybe ran the gauntlet with Cross Guild, right? Because when you think about the big bads of the world that the Marines are currently fighting, there's not too many people he could be fighting, right? It's either a warlord, which, granted a lot of warlords are with Cross Guild, or Yonko, or he could be going to like a revolting nation. But if Smoker got beat by a revolting nation, that'll just be the end of Smoker, in my opinion. But yeah, I think Smoker fought a high tier character, and then obviously Smoker, not being that guy quite yet, probably lost and got really injured. And hey, I'm cool with it. As long as Oda puts Smoker against a remarkable character, fine by me. You know what I mean? Like, if we come to find out that Smoker got injured, by civilians, Smoker got injured by no-name fodder, that would be awful. But if Smoker fought like, Cross Guild warlords, Yonkos, fine. Injured Smoker, I'll take that as a W. But yeah, man, I really want to see what Smoker was doing in the past 5 years. Who has he been training with? Where did he go? Who is he with currently? Because, he's the vice admiral, so there's a chance that he's maybe hanging out with Fujitora, just like how Kizaru has his little entourage. Maybe Smoker is a part of his entourage. Or maybe he was with Green Bull. Don't know yet, but hey, I would love to hear all of your guys' thoughts on this chapter down below. What do you think about Smoker? What do you think about the Gorosei? And what do you think about Zoro versus Venus? Do you think that fight will go on, or do you think it's going to get interrupted? Because I'm going to say it right here, man. If Zoro and Venus are fighting while the broadcast is still going on, Venus is truly invested in Zoro, right? Which is pretty awesome. But yeah, catch you guys later. My name is Sai, and I'm signing out.